the catalyst that altcoins need, or crypto itself as an ecosystem, a bit of confidence, a bit of investor clarity. Forget about the macro at the moment. This is important going forward. And it does sound like the Clarity Act might be over the line. This is from a congressman at the moment saying the Clarity Act is done. Banks and crypto companies have reached a deal. More details late April. Crypto regulation clarity to be finally implemented in 2026. Now, saying that in the current language, banks and say the crypto lobby are coming to an agreement as it stands. That could fall apart. But this is a positive step, I think. Now, what is baked into the cake here? I do not know. It probably isn't good. Like Scaramucci, Anthony Scaramucci, if you've heard of him. He went on a podcast recently with Pomp and said, we're not going to like what's in this Clarity Act at the start. But the important thing is getting the legislation in. That way it's very difficult to break, but amendments can be made, better things can be added later on. I don't know if I like that logic personally. I'm more of a guy that sort of thinks about this as, no deal is better than a bad deal. But that all said, if it happens, it happens. The SEC and FTC are doing their own thing anyway. They're really creating their own rule book. Clarity Act adds another layer here. There is something nefarious going on behind how stable coins and banks are operating here. I'm not going to lie. There's something that they're trying to, jostle in for power and get their own slice of the cake. That was always going to happen, but I would love to see how this ends up, down the line. Now, into Bitcoin. I wanted to bring this chart up. I've overlaid what 2021 Bitcoin bottom looked like when we had those 5 consecutive monthly red candles in a row. What did it look like at the very end on the daily time frame before we actually broke out? And would you know it? It looks exactly the same as where we're at. Now, I'm not showing you this saying it's going to operate exactly the same, but I wanted to illustrate that it can look darkest before the dawn. It can look like every previous, consolidation we've had higher in a downtrend, where it looks like we are going to just do another very simple breakdown and everyone flips short. Everyone's looking for lower when it's just done going lower. There's no more sellers that want to push this lower. And even if there are sellers that do, they just don't have enough weight behind them. And in fact, the buyers are beginning to accumulate and overwhelm those sellers. And this bar chart is the exact carbon copy of 2021 during those Bitcoin lows. And you see here, we are copying that almost to a T. If we can just zoom in there, because you've got the same little peak fake out there, back down to the low, compression, grinding higher. So this would really annoy a lot of people, because I know that we are very convicted on, buying the 74,000 weekly close. And I might flick this up to the weekly so we can see. Let's just play this out and think about what happens if 74K gets taken out. We ram straight into it, but then this next candle is so fast that it doesn't give you a chance to sort of really buy lower levels. It just runs straight to 78. And suddenly you have to make that decision at the weekly close to probably buy 78 to 75. No longer do you get to buy the 74, 73, 72. So this will be a decision for everyone, but you can just see here how quickly this thing can move when it wants to. Just shot straight up. Let's say relatively it shot up to 83, which I think might have been 7, 8, 9, 10,000 region. And this here, imagine if it did this, fired up from 73, 800, just ripped all the way to 84, so ripped back through 80,000 and then consolidated above 83. I guarantee you most people are going to set their bids back down at 75, 74. But they will never get hit. It just consolidates in a breach high. And then you start chasing, which is backing up my sort of thesis here. And I don't want to say my approach is always best. I'm saying that longer term vision of, all right, this is a great area for accumulation. The 60,000s, 70,000 is a great area for accumulation too. If it goes in the 50s, you accumulate there as well. Percentage allocation in certain areas versus hits this level, I'm going to acquire, but then it's shot so far up that you're starting to second guess, oh no, it's at the top of the range now, and you don't buy, and then it keeps going higher, and then you're chasing. It can be a very uncomfortable position to be in. And I just want us to think about, what will you do if X and Y happens? Do you have a plan A and B? Are you happy to pay a bit more of a premium higher if it does get there? Or are you more happy on just tweaking your percentages the longer this goes on in certain areas when you're happy with this time frame? Now, which would be above that 78, 70,000 region for the downtrend. I like downtrends, just looking at them, adding part of the mix, but using it as your sole indicator for a trade, no thank you. I need downtrend break and horizontal flip, which would be about 87,000 for me to go, yeah, things look so good here that I just need to get back in. 10 weekly EMA is still core for me that we just need to get above it. Now, as well, the short-term holder cost basis is 81,000 around about here. It's what I put into the Discord today, which I think is a gravitational level. Short-term holder cost basis, we tend to just rip back up to that point. Even if it is a resistance rejection and we move back lower, that should get tested at some point. So is this a good point for Bitcoin to uncoil and rewind and go higher? It probably is a good chance as any. I think it's it's a coin flip here. I think we can absolutely go higher or we can do that drop that everyone wants down to the 200. But so far, it just doesn't give two shits about what's happening in the world, which is a fantastic sign. It hasn't given any shits about the Morgan Stanley ETF either to go higher. So it's kind of in this nice position where good news and bad news isn't reacting. It's just absorbing and it's building this pressure, which generally is a sign of a bottom.